I'm excited. Restrictions in Sydney eased at midnight 2.5 hours ago. So I'm on my way to the factory to do some work on bullet truck. I'm excited. I haven't seen it for about 4 weeks. We'll get the high steer on this morning before I go to work. Haven't worked in a month either. First impression, it's quite tall. Those tyres don't look like 37s anymore. So our objective this morning is to get that tie rod and put it on top of the springs. So that's the conventional setup, and what we're going to do now is do a high steer conversion. So our first job will be to get that tie rod off. That's the Snake Racing rock rod that I'm referring to, that red one. So how we achieve this is the J-arm comes off, which is hooked up to the tie rod here, and it's replaced with this Snake Racing bracket. That goes on top where the J-arm is. That's the passenger side, which we also need to take off. And then we run a double rod setup, one left to right, as it is just there, which holds the wheels parallel with each other. And then the other short arm there, that goes from the passenger bracket back up to the pitman arm that we fit to the new IFS box. So we'll get the wheels off, we'll get these top 2 brackets off, and we'll bolt the Snake Racing ones in. Bullet's been in good company here. There's Adam's old 40, which is going to be a weapon once it's finished. And here's the 45. It looks like he's got the barra motor in it, sitting in position. This is going to be a tough truck, this one. Also reminiscing the 2014 season. I think I made that up for Adam as appreciation. We did all right back in 2014. But anyway, Bullet's grown a bit since it's been here. We'll get to work, get this wheel off. This J-arm's not that old either. So I knew that this tie rod end here wouldn't be a problem to take off. It's going to be unreal not seeing a J-arm here and having the U-bolt flip plate there on the driver's side. It's awesome. Okay, you got to remember to support the hub while you're taking that J-arm off, otherwise it'll fall over. I see a little problem. I don't have replacement studs, but I probably should get some stronger studs. I've noticed here that the 2 studs, the nuts come off on the 2 like it should, and then the other 2, the whole studs come out. So we'll probably end up replacing those with some stronger ones, because that is going to be what breaks. That is what has broken in the past when I've run high steer. This side wasn't too bad. I knew it wouldn't be because not long did I have this off. I believe the passenger side is going to be a lot harder. So we just got to get these cone washers out. The right way that this should have happened was that the nut comes off and the stud stays in. But I've had all 4 studs pull out. It's a real pity I didn't have replacement ones, stronger ones. Gives me the opportunity now to put some thread lock on the bottom of those threads into where it bolts into the knuckle. No more J-arm. Unreal. Well, they're not totally out of my life. I still run one on the 4Runner. And this is a good genuine one too. It's not that old. Give those threads a good clean. That's going to be my weak place now. That's going to be what lets go with the high steer. And it's generally on the passenger side where you've got the double tie rods fixed to. Just going to be something I'm going to need to keep checking. The passenger side wasn't as stubborn as I thought it might be, which is good. The tie rod comes out. It's a good rock rod, that. Keep that as a spare for the runner. So we just got the 2 cone washers to pull out, and again, the threads came out on 2 of them. I mean, I know the stud's only going to be as good as what's in the knuckle, as the thread in the knuckle. But I mean, I'm not going to go to the trouble of changing knuckles. These ones have done a lot of work. In the past, from memory, with the blue truck I had with high steer, it was this side that would always come loose because you've got the double arm coming off it. So you've got the two tie rod ends on the one side. And this is the one furthest away from the box. Out with the old. It's actually going to be good not to come back in here. So on the passenger side, I'm just going to do the double nut trick. I'm going to take the studs out and I'm going to thread lock them into the knuckle. Get the wheel on and we'll get the rods in. Now's an important part, and I thought I could take a bit of a shortcut. So we've got to make sure the wheels are parallel with each other. So I measured what I had earlier with the conventional steering and Snake Racing's rock rod, and I was a fair bit out. So something had obviously bent or it wasn't set up properly years ago. So we don't have a machine here. It's not a high-speed vehicle. So what we'll do is we'll take a measurement at the front of the tyre at around this height with a tape measure, and then do the same at the rear. Get it as close as possible. They're adjustable, and that you can adjust them while they're in the car. I like to try and get it as close as possible prior, being a one-person outfit most of the time. But I mean, look, unless you know, if you're 10, 15 mil out, you know, it's probably not the best. But I mean, if you're 3, 4 mil out, it's really not going to matter. All right, I've got a measurement out the back here of 1315. And we've got a measurement here of 1305. So we're 10 mil. So we want to be around the 1310. So we've just got to pull this 5 mil. Okay, so we've got a measurement now of 1310. It was just under the spring. 1310, 1310. So that's good enough for now. The next measurement we need is going to be a center point for the rod, roughly, so we can set it up on the bench. I've got 1150 center of hole to center of hole. Get it close. So I've got 1160. So they've got to come in 5 mil. All right, let's sit it in the truck. Take the nuts off. The driver's side one in first. Goes. Oh, that was a pretty good measure up. We've got to come through nice and straight. One last check that our measurement hasn't changed. Still 1310, spot on. Then when we're set, we just lock these up, and I like to put a texture mark on the rod to the nut so I know that it hasn't moved. I could have swore these were greasable back in the day. There's the texture mark I'll put on. And just for the first little while, I'll know if that nut stayed tight or come loose. The second rod in, it's just finger tight there on the passenger side bracket. So this end here, this end will bolt up to that flat pitman arm, which is mounted to the IFS steering box, which is what Adam and I are going to fit up today. So the old one's gone. Got a bracket here from Tony at Shy's Fabrications. And then we've got to marry in the back of that steering box to that steering shaft. In turn to the steering wheel, job done. But this is the tricky part. So this is the part where you need a fabricator. There's welding to be done. We've got to drill holes and put collars through the chassis. Trimming some of that guard for the shock hoop install. Why are you grinding all the way back down there?
I might plate the whole thing.
Nice. So Adam's fabbed these plates up, which he'll weld onto the chassis here. And that's where the shock hoop will get welded to. Bit more progress here. Adam's got the shock hoop tacked onto the plate that he's welded to the chassis. And we've got the 79 rear shock that I run up front here. That's nearly at full droop. There's still a bit more to go. This tyre's still on the ground. My concern, the minute, is that shaft. I reckon if we keep going up with the hoist, that's just gonna slip out. So I'm gonna just put a spacer in that for now. Might have to end up getting one of Tony's. He's got the long spline. We've got our holes marked. We're gonna be drilling the holes through the chassis for Tony's plates. Tony actually called us, very nice of him. I did send him a bit of a question straight away on the phone. Top bloke.
Yeah, fits lovely.
Nice. So that's the collar that you weld in, 2 of them and 1 across the top. You know what a builder would have done then? Just drilled a bigger hole with the drill bit, but so fabricators know what they're doing. Any rust in there?
No, heap of dirt.
Yeah. So those of you that have wheeled with me, you remember there was a water container here we used to wash our hands with. So Adam had to take it out to put the taxi bar in. But look at this sneaky bugger. He's gone and made me a new one. How good is that? So what am I going to do with the timber one now? But it's got paint on it. That's awesome, buddy. Thank you. That looks good, Adam.
Sweet.
All right, tack. Awesome, buddy. So the roughs with the high steer. So this is the steer shaft that I had that is a bit longer. So if we look at where it bolts up to the coupling there that goes onto the steering box, this one here is about 50 mil longer. So it means that I don't have to run a steer extension shaft. I can run this straight to the steering box. And this is where it goes up into the firewall. So that extra 50 mil saves me doing any packing down this end. So the rear's up front, push the front diff forward. And that's why I've been holding onto this steer shaft, because of the extra length. Other plate on the chassis there where the hoop's gonna sit. Just gonna grind that back and then we'll bolt up the box. We'll tack in the hoop and call it a day.
Yeah.
Box in, shock hoop tacked. That's going to be the stance of the shock. So I think we've got to just bring it down now to get this front arm in to the pitman arm. Just makes it a little bit easier. And I think we could call it a day. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah.
Been a good day. Bullet's happy. Like Adam said, she knows now she's not getting parted out because we're putting stuff on her. Coming back down to ride height. Ride height. Wow, look how much shock's exposed. There's our ride height. So what, that's not bad. We're gonna have to run a bump stop, definitely, but not bad. The shock's gonna be at full extension for sure. There's no way we'll get all that up travel though.